Does Bryan Kohberger's alibi actually make sense? Let's dig in. So there were a few of us that were waiting for Bryan Kohberger's official alibi to be released, and it looks like Ann Taylor, his attorney, released it a couple days ago. Now I went through it; it was only a couple pages, but I highlighted the most important parts. Now, part one is Mr. Kohberger was out driving in the car. Apparently, he likes to drive, and on that day, he took a hike and a run to look at the moon and stars, and he basically just drove around in the middle of the night for no reason. And they included this park, and we'll get into the why they included the park, but they are going to have someone, an expert, try to prove the fact that cell phone pings does not actually prove where they claim, Bryan was supposed to be. They plan to bring up Cy Ray, who is a SLI expert, which is like cell tower, cell phone data, radio frequency, and kind of other electronic, an expert, to show that Bryan Kohberger's mobile device was south of Pullman and west of Moscow on Idaho the night of the murders. They are claiming that Bryan's phone did not travel east on Moscow Pullman Highway on the night of the murders, and he cannot be the vehicle that is captured on their camera, which apparently there's a lot of camera footage of this car that night. And on this last little bit, if not disclosed, Mr. Ray's testimony will also reveal that critical exploratory evidence further corroborating Mr. Kohberger's innocence or alibi will also be shown. Now, this is Cy Ray himself. It's actually a pretty cool name. Now, apparently, he's been a part of SWAT. He's been on Dateline. He's had little things on like 2020, but he has testified in over 100 trials, but he's always been on the prosecution side. He's never been on the defense's side. So, very interesting that the one time he's kind of willing to step out of his comfort zone, it's for this case. I wonder if he's Ann Taylor's buddy, basically. Now it says, according to this profile on this new site that specializes in government technology, Cy Ray has spent over 20 years in law enforcement, where he spent time as a SWAT officer, homicide sergeant, and directing fugitive missions. Very interesting. Some of his work has been featured on several episodes of 48 Hours 2020, the Discovery Channel, Dateline, and showcasing his technical expertise. Cy spent time in Afghanistan as a field advisor for an undercover team targeting improvised explosive devices, which is IUDs. Very interesting, by the way, if you watch Army documentaries. And he set up ZX in 2014, and it's worked in both in radio frequency and cell phone data. So it sounds like he basically has his own contracting or advisory company that he has that he probably does with maybe law enforcement or other third party agencies. So very interesting nonetheless. He also does have a crime podcast called Socialite Crime Club. So interesting. All right, now to the park, Wawaii. And I know you guys will tell me in my comments if I'm saying this wrong. I'm sorry if I'm butchering this. The reason why I think they're putting this in there is because Wawaii Park, again, if I'm saying that wrong, does not have cell phone service. It's a canyon, so there's no towers that can actually reach down into that canyon and give your phone service. AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, they do not have service. Now, is Ann Taylor trying to basically say that he was in this park because, again, in the affidavit, they're not able to actually prove if his cell phone either didn't have data or if it was turned off? Sounds like it was turned off since it was specifically not gaining any cell phone tower data from this time to this time, but I withdraw. So is she doing this to basically prove, yeah, the reason why there was no cell phone footage was because he actually went to this park that doesn't have cell phones footage? But what time does that park open and close? Closes at dusk, which around November would have been maybe 5, 6 o'clock, and opens at 7 a.m. So, and I also heard that there's a gate. I'm trying to confirm that now, that there's an actual gate that closes, preventing people from getting into the park. So unless you just like to park outside of a park, wouldn't make sense.